Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name's Adam Mariancho, and today is Wednesday, June 26th, 4:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to test out a strategy that's sweeping the nation and is alleged to work every time. Let's find out if it's legit or not. At this point, you have to have seen Hawk Tuah. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of late to the party in terms of awareness, but um, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna target Tua Tagovailoa in today's video and try and set up as many stacks as possible. Hopefully, we get like pick 3 and we can get Tyreek Hill. But if not, we'll be grabbing, at least trying to take Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane in rounds 2 and 3, and we will hope for the best. Apparently, this is guaranteed to work. So we're going to hop into the Scott Fish Bowl today. This is a charity tournament, $5 entry. There is no prize. It's all donations to charity. And for $5, I'm happy to at least do a few of these. So let's get in. If you want to join me, you can use code Nice and Blunt and get your first deposit matched up to $250 on sign up. But there's like I think I fixed some of the delay issues. The delays were like previously like 13, almost like 15 seconds. Now I think it's like 5 or 6 seconds. So if you want to join me, if you're watching, go ahead and hop in right now, and I'll click the button now. We'll hop in right now. So hopefully this fills. There's still 4 spots, and I don't expect to be waiting for too long, but you never know. It is possible that we are sitting here for a little bit, but only 4 spots, shouldn't take too long. So let's just plan this a little bit. No, we're looking for Miami. Whoops. Okay, so Tyreek Hill obviously goes at 3. If we get boxed out of Tyreek, it's not the end of the world. Jalen Waddle goes at pick 20. So hopefully we're not like right in the middle, where if let's say we have like pick 6, we might miss out on both Tyreek and Waddle, but I think we should get one of the two in the first 2 rounds. And then Achane goes at the 2-3 turn, pick 24. So I think there's a scenario where we get all 3 if we have pick 3. But at the very least, we should be able to get one of these 3 options early on in the draft. But then it's Mostert, Tua goes pick 124. That's round 11. And then Jalen Wright, Jonnu Smith are the only 2 that are really being drafted. And then some teams are taking Odell Beckham in round 18. Most people are not, though. But we're still sitting at 4 spots for this tournament. So maybe I see if there's another league open that's like ready to draft. If there's like a $3 draft, then I'll probably hop into that one. But if it's going to be too long, maybe I just need to hop into like Best Ball Mania to get this thing going. Jason saying weekly winners. We'll see. We're down to 3 spots. Oh, Jason, are you joining the Scott Fish Bowl? I hope so. I hope we're not gonna have to wait too long. But yeah, down to 3 spots. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Awesome. Jason will be drafting with us. If I'm sitting here for like another 2 minutes and it's still sitting at 3, then I'll let you know and we'll probably hop into something else. Because as much as I want to do this league, I don't want to wait, 10 plus minutes here on the stream, just casually hoping for this to fill. But we'll see what happens. My computer's been like a little bit slow on like loading the Underdog website. I don't know if anyone else has had that problem, but I've noticed if I type in like a different URL, like just underdog.com/draft, then it seems to work faster, but for some reason, okay. Okay, so someone has already left. We're back down to 3. Okay, we went to 4, now it's back to 3. I'll give it 2 more minutes. I'll give it 2 more minutes. If it's still at 3, then we'll go into weekly winners. But um according to Jason, weekly winners fills pretty quickly, and that's a $10 buy-in. So, nothing too crazy, but we'll see what happens. We'll get this sorted out pretty soon. Okay. And as always, I usually come back like retroactively once I'm done with the live stream and put the timestamps below on like when the draft actually starts. So if you are hopping in after the fact and you're like, when is this thing gonna go? I usually put the timestamps in. I'm pretty good about it. Once I like forgot to do it for like an hour after I was done, but I did it retroactively. But usually like as soon as I'm done, I go into edit and figure out when the draft started and put the timestamp in. So if you don't care too much for like waiting around on the intro, you know, you can be one of those people that just skips ahead. But it keeps moving back and forth. Like we got down to two spots, now we're up to 3 spots again. Some people are not patient for it to fill. Now it's back to 2, so it should be fine. But yeah, this is a little bit slower than usual. I get it. As much as, you know, it's for charity, it's a good cause. If you have no shot to win anything, there's probably a few more people that are like a little more reluctant to hop in. But now it's only 1 spot. I think we're just gonna stay in this lobby, and I think it will be fine. Yeah, now it's full. We said 2 minutes. It was about 2.5 minutes. Here it is. All right. Draft will be underway very shortly. We have pick 8. So let me know, Jason, what pick you are in. What pick you have. And I'll try not to snipe you, but hopefully you do not snipe me on the Tua stack that I am trying to get. I mean, it's a hot commodity. It's a big ticket. Very, very hyped up over the last week or so, just sweeping the nation. The Hawk Tua strategy. You are Huron Rivera T. So you have what pick? Are you at the turn? Oh, you're pick 11. Okay. Cool, man. Awesome. I'll let you know how I think about your team. If you have any questions on it, feel free to ask. But yeah, I'm pick 8. Jason is pick 11, River Rat. And the draft is underway. Team 1 is on the clock. I feel like because this did take a while, it's possible that round 1 has a lot of timeouts because some people may have been waiting for a while and maybe like, you know, X'd out of the tab, did something else. Maybe they're just like not totally aware that this thing started just yet. It's good to have Underdog also downloaded on your phone and the notifications on so that like if you are in that situation, you get some reminders. And it seems like they updated it recently where like you're not just getting a notification like when you're on the clock, like you get a notification a pick before where it's like, hey, you're up next. So that's definitely helpful. But Tyreek Hill goes at 4. We will not be stacking Tua with Tyreek Hill. But I have pick 17. Hopefully I do not get sniped. I should be lined up for Jalen Waddle at pick 17. But we may get a wide receiver here. But maybe we're going to go with Bijan. I'm fine either way. At pick 8, I will take Bijan. Bijan Robinson, our first round selection. So whenever I go hero running back, grab a running back in the first 2 rounds, I like to wait a long time usually. I know on Monday we took Taylor at pick 14 and then we grabbed James Cook in round 6, but I felt like I got a really good value on James Cook and wide receiver was really not like speaking to me at that point. I felt like it was a better use of our pick to go with James Cook in round 6 when we took Taylor at 14. So I either grab a running back super early, like Bijan Brees Hall in round 1, and then I wait till like round 8, usually, to take my second, unless I get a really good value on a player I like we did on Monday when we had James Cook available in round 6. But River Rat goes Puka, Marvin Harrison. Pretty good value on Puka. I feel like Puka never falls to the second round, but if he ever does, like, that's always going to pay off. But I know who I'm taking. Typically, I don't have a lot of Jalen Waddle. I was taking him a decent amount in round 3, and as soon as he vaulted up to round 2, I was like, I don't feel great about it. Um, I still think that this offense runs through Tyreek Hill at like a massive clip because Waddle was like a little inefficient. Like maybe inefficient is the wrong word. I feel like his volume just really took a dip last year, but there were very few games where he actually scored a touchdown. He only had 4 touchdowns in 14 games last season, and there weren't that many games where he went over like 50 yards. Like first 2 weeks he was good, then he was inactive. So dealt with a bit of an injury. That's definitely a factor to keep in mind. So a bounce back is probably in line. But other than 3 games, he went over 80 yards just once. Like he had 3 massive games against the Patriots, against the Jets, and against the Jets again. And obviously those are good secondaries in division that are definitely trying to shut down Tyreek Hill as best as they can. So that's definitely the factor. But when that's not the case, there are few games where he goes over 50 yards. Like, yeah, the first two, 78, 86, but only 4 catches apiece. And then 46, 5 for 35 and a touchdown, 7 for 51, 6 for 53. In week 9, 3 for 42, 4 for 55, 5 for 52, 6 for 79. And then his final game of the season, where it looks like he got hurt, only played 43% of snaps, 1 catch, 50 yards against Dallas. So he wasn't like the Jalen Waddle we expected. Last year, he was also a second round pick and he did not pay off. And if Tyreek Hill goes for that record again, then I don't know if he's going to really pay off here in the top 20. Jason says he left a lot of games for 3 or 4 series last season with minor injuries. It was odd. Yeah, injuries were definitely a factor. He should be better. Obviously, if Tyreek Hill were to ever go down, Waddle would have elite contingent value. He'd probably, at worst, be like top 8 in the rankings. Obviously, a bad matchup is going to bring him down. But you could argue for him slotting in where Tyreek Hill is as like wide receiver 3. I guess he's wide receiver 2 in actuality. In this draft, he goes as wide receiver 3. But we're not going to get A-Chain. At least we get Waddle. We get someone to pair up with Tua, who we are targeting later in this draft. I'm probably going to take Tua, pick 113. He goes off the board at 124. And with both teams with Miami on that side of the turn, I probably will reach a little bit on Tua. We need to get Tua. in this draft. That's pretty critical. But we took Bijan. I think wide receiver is absolutely the way to go here, and I think there's less target competition with Cooper Kupp than Stephon Diggs, and I'm happy to go with Cooper Kupp, someone who could return to top 5 status. I noticed this comment as soon as I as soon as I hit the button, man. Literally right after I hit the button. Apologies, man. You got to be a little quicker than that. I am sorry, but I need a receiver, and it is what it is. But Cup still feels like a tremendous value where he's going. I mean, ADP of 30, it fell to me at 32, so he's typically not on the board there. Hey, you didn't say anything, man. I will not snipe you on Stafford. Okay? I will not snipe you on Stafford. But I, if I'm going to put it out there in advance, you got to put it out there in advance as well. Okay? I'm not going to snipe you on Kyler either. But I need receiver, man, and the best one on the board is the one I decided to take. Apologies, but Fight Me is very very entertained with the snipe. But yeah, sorry, Jason. Sorry, man. But if as long as you don't snipe me on Tua, I promise I will not snipe you on Stafford. I guarantee you. I'm glad it's okay. You go T Higgins. I like the quad receiver strategy. Interesting that you passed on Pittman in round 4 though. At pick 38, I think I prefer Pittman over T Higgins personally, but maybe that's my Colts bias a little bit. I have been really buying into the Colts, and Higgins was a bit of a burn last year. Laporta falls to pick 41, but we do still kind of need a receiver. And Cleveland plays Miami in week 17, so I'm going to get some game correlation, and I'm going to go with Amari Cooper here for the week 17 correlation. They play in the fantasy championship, and I'm going to try and correlate for some high upside. I don't know if you can hear her. She's up on the desk. She's out of frame, but my cat has come up to me to vocalize her displeasure with the lack of attention. But anyways, so after Amari Cooper, we see Travis Etienne go at pick 42, followed by Lamar Jackson, Christian Kirk. Sam Laporta falls to pick 45. Interesting. I think that's the latest I've ever seen Laporta go in any draft. Maybe it's just because it's the Scott Fish Bowl that people are willing to deviate from ADP a little bit more. But I normally do not see Laporta go that late. Oh, now she's in frame. Now you can see her. You want to say something to the audience? No, now you're shy. Yeah. Once you put a microphone on her face, she's like, "No, I'm gonna be quiet." But otherwise, she's very vocal. There it is. Hello. I see you. All right, so let's take a look at some of these teams. We have Team 1 with, I think, the proper strategy. If you can get some really good values at like tight end, then maybe I think I'd go for like a Trey McBride over Hollywood Brown at the 4-5 turn. But I do think if you take Running back with pick one, Christian McCaffrey, and your wide receiver one is Debo Samuel. You really got to hit wide receiver hard through several rounds. So I think team one is doing it right. I may have gone with like a Hollywood Mahomes stack though at the 48-49 spot, but Trey McBride is also a pretty good option. And it's possible he falls to us at pick 56. We're at least going to get one of these tight ends, so I'm in excellent shape here. We took our hero running back in Bijan already, so we really don't need to grab Josh Jacobs. If we get Trey McBride at pick 56, that's excellent value. But even Mark Andrews in round 5 is like so guaranteed to pay off, and McBride does go. So here we are taking Mark Andrews. We do not have Lamar Jackson, but that's perfectly fine. And I am starting to feel like as long as Andrews stays healthy, he's the guy you want in Baltimore in this passing game still. I think Zay Flowers is a little overpriced. Because Zay Flowers really didn't come on at all last season until Mark Andrews went down. Let's take a look at Flowers real quick. So the Bengals game is when Mark Andrews went down. So if we just look at the first 10 games for Zay Flowers, he had 68 targets, 50 receptions, so high catch percentage, 73.5%, but only 10.9 yards per reception. That's not like incredible. And only one touchdown. That I think is the thing to really keep in mind for Zay Flowers, this one touchdown in games when Mark Andrews was viable. However, we're not on the clock yet. And look at the difference in games after Mark Andrews got hurt. Let's include the Bengals game, the game when Mark Andrews did go down. 6 games, 40 targets, 27 catches, 313 yards. So yards per catch went up a little bit to 11.6, but 4 receiving touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. So he scored 5 touchdowns in the last 6 games, all without Mark Andrews. So a lot of people are projecting those type of numbers, and it is year 2. I would expect Zay Flowers to be a little bit better, but I still think straight up, I would rather have Mark Andrews on my roster than Zay Flowers personally. I'm surprised that Team 6 opted against Mark Andrews in round 5. They took Jaden Reed instead. So happy to get him at a great value. Very, very happy with that. And we are in line for another James Cook round 6 selection, but maybe wide receiver is a little bit more important here. I do love me some Rome Odunze. I also like Brian Thomas. I'm going to go Brian Thomas. I think a little bit less competition for targets in Jacksonville. I also have a lot of Odunze already. And I think there's a scenario where Brian Thomas is actually the second most valuable rookie wide receiver this season. I think obviously Marvin Harrison is the clear number 1 rookie wide receiver, but Malik Nabers is in a bad offense. Yes, there's a ton of volume headed his way, but Daniel Jones doesn't give me much confidence. I don't feel confident in the Giants at all. And Odunze just has too many mouths to compete with in that Chicago offense. I do see a scenario where Brian Thomas is actually more valuable than Christian Kirk, who's going 2 full rounds above him. So I like Brian Thomas a lot round 6. And while James Cook does fall to the team with Josh Allen at pick 68, slot 5, that's fine. We took James Cook on Monday, and we already have Bijan. When Puka's my number 1 wide receiver, I'm a little more comfortable going with an RB2 like James Cook if I already have Jonathan Taylor. But when Waddle is my wide receiver 1 and I have Bijan, I'm more inclined to grab receiver round 6 as my wide receiver 4, especially given I'm on the back half of the draft And coming around the 6-7 turn, we could dry up on the wide receiver position by the time we hit pick 80. So we may not get a good player at receiver with our next pick. I'm fine passing on James Cook, but you can definitely make an argument that's the player I should have taken. But even Kenneth Walker goes above James Cook. Very interesting. Bit of a reach on Dave Montgomery. That's kind of interesting. But we see Alvin Kamara go at 72, Ramondre at 74. This is a draft that seems to be prioritizing running back a little bit more than typical. We do see Team 9 go Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. And Team 11, Jason Calhoun in the chat, River Rat over there, does not have a running back at all through 6 rounds. But Odunze really falls in this draft. Would be shocked to see him fall another 2 more picks here. If he's at 80, I'm absolutely taking Odunze. But I would expect Rashee or Christian Watson to be our selection. Aaron Jones goes. Wow. Holy shit. So I clearly made the right call passing on Odunze. He comes back all the way around to me. So instead of taking him at 65, I get him here at pick 80. And holy shit. I feel pretty good about this receiving core. Very good about it. Two really talented rookies. And if age is going to catch up with Keenan Allen, which it likely will, then Odunze could be more valuable than Keenan. And given Caleb Williams has no prior connection at all to DJ Moore, there's even a chance that Odunze is more valuable than DJ Moore. It's possible. I'm not going to put my money on it like crazy, but it is definitely possible. Riverat goes Najee Harris, pick 83. Given Team 12 has Jalen Hurts, I think that's probably a wiser decision to go running back first. I assume you'll grab Kyler for the Harrison stack, but maybe I'm wrong. You do need running back pretty badly. So if Najee's the one you want, go ahead and take him. You go Rashee Rice. I mean, good value on Rice. He is falling, and there are some rumors that there's a chance he doesn't get suspended. It's possible that the league doesn't care, or at least it doesn't quite get handled this season. And yeah, a full round past ADP, I totally get you. I would have taken Rashee if Odunze was not on the board. So yeah, you don't think he's suspended until 2025 either. That's definitely in the cards. There's a chance that is the case. But Ferguson goes. And if you're going to pass on Kyler, I'm probably going to take him. I definitely think he has the most upside here. I mean, we do not have any Bengals, so as much as Burrow is probably in the same boat, Kyler is now 8 picks past ADP, and I don't feel like I have to go with any of these specific running backs. I'm going to take Kyler. Did not expect him to be on the board at 89. But Kyler is one of those quarterbacks that I think you can justify drafting without any stack. We do snipe Team 7 on Trey McBride, so they're probably not too happy about that. But they set themselves up for a Jordan Love stack. And Kyler is one of those quarterbacks that if you don't take him when you're like trying to stack him, you're hoping that he comes back around. You don't need to have a Cardinal on your roster already to justify drafting Kyler Murray. He has a lot of rushing upside, and it's a gamble for sure. I feel like most teams that draft Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison do not have them stacked up with Kyler. Sometimes it happens, but I feel like it's less likely that you draft a Arizona receiver and actually have him stacked up with Kyler. But here in round 8, quarterback was definitely the way to go. There's a bit of a run, and Jaden Daniels already is off the board at pick 96 to team 1 that does not have a QB up until this point. So definitely a position of need. But I'm hoping that running back is there. Mostert goes. But we're going to target running back. Maybe another tight end, just so we can call it done at the position. Maybe like David Njoku, because we do have Amari Cooper. And Njoku gets taken. And Njoku is sniped. So as soon as I put him in the queue, he is off the board. But that would just increase our Week 17 correlation with the Dolphins and Browns. But so far, this team is looking pretty competitive. I got Bijan as my RB1. I have not taken an RB2 yet. Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, Brian Thomas, and Rome Odunze at a massive value are my 5 receivers. And then I have Mark Andrews at tight end and Kyler Murray at QB. I feel pretty good about this team. So far, I feel pretty good. But running back is definitely a position we don't want to ignore too much. The cliff is coming. I think in the next 3 rounds, we at least have to take one. But Bowers is sniped, so I'm going to go with Trey Benson. Little bit of a correlation with Kyler. Not really one that you're like crazy about. I don't think it's really that relevant, but definitely the highest ranked running back in terms of ADP right here. And knowing that I'm planning on Tua in the next round, I think it's probably a wise investment to go with running back over receiver. We already have 5 that I feel pretty confident with, so it's best to give ourselves some starting value in our roster rather than just keep filling out the bench. River at going with Javonte Williams as your RB2. I mean, you're stacked at receiver, but running back is a little shaky. Javonte scares me this year. Really scares me. He's in line for the RB1 role, but there's literally like 4 backs in that committee that can all steal a lot of touches. Like maybe it shrinks down to 3 other running backs if they do indeed cut Samaje Perine. But there's some hype on Estime. Jaleel McLaughlin was way more efficient, albeit on very few touches last year. McLaughlin ran for like 5.4 yards per carry. Meanwhile, Javonte didn't even crack 4 yards per carry. So that's a concern I have. And there's also some big hype on Blake Watson. And Javonte with just so many other players in that backfield scares me quite a bit. But even if he does lead that group, I think he's going a little bit too high. That's my take on it. I will be giving out some rankings next week at the running back position, and I was doing some digging. Javonte in a contract season scares the living shit out of me. I have not drafted too much Javonte this season. I think I only have taken him like once, maybe twice, and that was like when he's falling like pick 120. Just cuz. But yeah, we're getting our stack. We're going with the Hawk Tua strategy. We have Jalen Waddle. We have this at least one stack already set up for that purpose, and allegedly it works every time. Allegedly it's can't miss. So here he is, Tua, the savior of this team. So here's our squad so far. We have Bijan Robinson and Trey Benson at running back. definitely a hero RB approach. At QB, I have Kyler Murray unstacked, Tua stacked up with Jalen Waddle. We have Mark Andrews at tight end, and our other receivers after Waddle would be Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, Brian Thomas, and Rome Odunze. If Benson hits, I feel really good about this team, but I do feel like I can get some good running back value in the next few rounds that are going to be more focused on early season production, where even if Trey Benson doesn't get rolling until like week 10, he has a week 11 bye. So I really don't see him dominating this backfield until early as week 12, barring an injury to James Conner. If Conner goes down, then Benson has league winning upside. And James Conner is also a running back that has never played a full season. In his last 2 years in Arizona, he's only played 13 out of 17 games. So what you can project for Trey Benson, a reason why I do like him, is at least 4 games where he is going to be the workhorse. And if those games come earlier in the season, then, most people probably project, like, I think by the time we hit week 8, it's probably going to be more likely that James Conner gets injured. But who knows? Maybe it happens as early as like week 2, week 3, and we see Benson get a month as like the clear RB1, getting all 3 down workload, all 3 downs of workload in this Arizona backfield. And maybe it's like week 8 and James Conner's finally coming back and they're just like, okay, well, this rookie's really taken off and maybe they're winning with him. There's a scenario where you don't get that much time where Benson is just like clearly just a bench stash. I don't think Benson's going to be that important for your fantasy team in the month of September. It'll start to ramp up a little bit more in October, but only after like Thanksgiving do I think you'll like really trust him in your lineup, unless there's an earlier season injury to James Conner, which is always possible. James Conner's not a running back I really trust to stay healthy. Last 2 seasons, he's missed 4 games in each of them. So that's my logic on Benson. Not so much the stack with Kyler, more so just the contingent value that Conner goes down. But as long as we don't get sniped on who I want, I will be taking a running back that I think will really provide excellent coverage for the first couple months of the season. I think Jerome Ford's going to be really valuable, possibly a top 20 running back in at least September, if not October as well. And the Nick Chubb knee injury is definitely of concern. I like to pair a guy like Jerome Ford with someone like Benson. Benson is someone for the end of the season. Jerome Ford will still have value later in the season, but will definitely have the most of his value in the early weeks. And at the very least, with a week 10 bye for Cleveland, I think you might get 8-9 games where Nick Chubb isn't even on the field. So really, really feel strong with Jerome Ford. And it also adds to our week 17 game stack correlation. In week 17, the Cleveland Browns take on the Miami Dolphins in Cleveland. So yet another reason to target Jerome Ford for this team. After Jerome Ford, we see Eckler, Dalton Schultz, Zach Charbonnet. Jahan Dotson after that. And with our next pick, I don't want to speak too soon because I know Riverat, who's now on the clock, is watching. And at this point in the draft, it's fair game to snipe me. So you saved Tua for me, but that's why I'm going to keep hush-hush on this pick. I assume you're going to go QB. You've yet to take a QB, and it is round 12. Marshawn Lloyd, interesting selection. I mean, you waited so late on running back, it's definitely still a position you probably need as well, but interesting pick. Lloyd has upside. Love Lloyd's talent. Just a little concerned about Josh Jacobs there, but AJ Dillon's a complete afterthought. Lloyd is absolutely above AJ Dillon, and according to the coaching staff, damn, am I really gonna go with Trevor Lawrence here? 19 picks past ADP, or do I just take Fryermuth? I have Brian Thomas, so it correlates, but I really don't want another quarterback on this team. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take Fryermuth. Yeah, and Lawrence goes immediately after. Lawrence was probably the right pick, but I have two quarterbacks already. I have Kyler and Tua, and maybe that just speaks to why I should not have taken Kyler at pick 89. But that's fine. I feel good about Fryermuth. I think Fryermuth could be a top 10 tight end this year and maybe even higher. I think obviously every tight end going in the first 5 rounds is more valuable than Fryermuth. Kittle is still more valuable than Fryermuth. So is Evan Ingram, and so is Jake Ferguson. But I think there's an argument that Fryermuth is equally as valuable as David Njoku. I think he might be more productive than Dallas Goedert. And if Brock Bowers has a typical rookie tight end season, then Fryermuth, I think, at the worst, should be ranked right after Brock Bowers. And I definitely prefer him over Dalton Schultz. There's nowhere near the same amount of competition for Fryermuth in the Pittsburgh offense as there is Dalton Schultz in the Texans offense. Like, in Pittsburgh, it's strictly George Pickens above him. I think Fryermuth is clearly the number 2 receiving weapon for Russell Wilson. And early training camp reports indicate Russell Wilson has a great chemistry already established with Fryermuth. Fryermuth started off really well as a rookie with Ben Roethlisberger. He had a pretty good year 2 season, and then last year he was just terrible, but injuries were a big factor. So I think Fryermuth is one of the safest later round tight ends. He's going in round 12, and I think he should be going more like in round 10. I honestly want Fryermuth more than Goddard. And I think while Bowers has a little bit more upside, definitely a better skill set, I think there might be more volume headed towards Pat Fryermuth. But here we are, and running back is definitely a position we've ignored for quite a while, so I'm going to get back to it. And Rico Dowdle has fallen 10 spots. I will be taking Rico Dowdle. Let's hope that there's some valuable touches in this backfield for him. I do expect Zeke to be the goal line running back, but Zeke is coming on like, what, year 9 at this point? Year 9 or 10, it feels like. I think it's year 9. But he has over 2,400 career touches for Ezekiel Elliott. So maybe Dowdle is actually the running back you want, but I worry about this Mike McCarthy offense. But Jason Calhoun is currently on the clock here at Riverette. Does not believe in Jacobs at all. I have a giant bag of Lloyd shares. I get it. There has been some shaky production for Jacobs, at least last season. They paid him a big contract, and Lloyd is a rookie. But here on Underdog, when you're making, just upside bets, Lloyd is definitely a good pick. I think I'd still rather take Zeke over Lloyd, just because I think Zeke has more of a path to touches, but there's more upside for Lloyd, absolutely. Safer floor with Zeke, though. You grab Stafford for your Puka stack, so I promised you I would not snipe you on Stafford, and he's there for you at pick 155. And then you go Adam Thielen, 158, and you've ignored receiver for a while. So I was considering maybe going with Thielen myself, but now I have a 2-5-4-5 2 build And Vidal is a player I do like in this range. Was considering Vidal, but we get sniped. And I think in a similar logic to Freiermuth, there's so little target competition in Pittsburgh. I don't love the Arthur Smith offenses that much, but I don't really care to. Maybe I should just handcuff Algier with Bijan, though. I need running backs, so yeah, fuck it. That's what I'll do. I'll take Algier. Just consolidate every point in the Falcons' backfield. Bijan and Algier. In the past, I have spoken that like when you do take running back round 1, sometimes it's kind of irrelevant to handcuff them, but here I'm going against that logic just because I don't have that many running backs, and this team is so contingent on Bijan's success. Like, for me to wait until round 9 to take my RB2, and the fact that it's Trey Benson as well, someone that's starting the season as the backup, if I miss like 2-3 games from Bijan, I know I'm going to get really good numbers from Algier, and I need at least like one running back every week in my lineup that can put up 20 points. So this is the type of scenario where I'm willing to do that, but usually I do not handcuff the running back I drafted in round 1. Like I'm not trying to handcuff Bijan most of the time, or Breece Hall, or Christian McCaffrey, or like Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. But given how long I waited for RB2, if Bijan goes down, I am totally fucked. So now I at least guarantee decent points in that scenario, in the event that happens. But usually I don't do that. We will probably grab a couple Dolphins receivers at the end of the draft here, but we're in round 15, 16, 17. I have 4 more picks, and I only have 5 receivers. I could honestly grab 4 wide receivers the rest of this draft. I think I'll probably only take 3 of them. And usually I go with Demarcus Robinson here, but given Riverette is in this lobby and I snipe you on Cooper Kupp, I'm going to leave you Demarcus Robinson, my friend. I will not be taking Demarcus Robinson away from you. But are there any running backs I'm interested in? Not really. So wide receiver is where I'm going to go. And I'm just going to take Zay Jones, pair him up with Kyler Murray. You're welcome, pal. Hope Baba Yaga does not snipe you. He does not. So you can gamble that he comes back around, but Demarcus Robinson is there for you on the board, and you do not. You take him at pick 179. I think that is the right decision. So here's our team. We have Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa as our quarterbacks. At running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier. We're hoping that Dowdle pops, but really we're very contingent on Jerome Ford putting up enough points in the early season to cover our Trey Benson investment and hoping that he pops at the end of the season and offers league-winning value. But Bijan is like so important to this team that I have him paired up with Algier just to mitigate any problems, just an insurance pick. And then Rico Dowdle, who knows, maybe he actually has the better season in the backfield for Dallas. But at this point in the draft, I don't think it's like critical to really pay attention to ADP. I just want some stacks, and I'm going to go with Odell Beckham. I want some more investment in Miami's offense. So he's lining up to be the wide receiver 3. I'm going to take him. There's no one that I feel like I think is critical for my roster at this point. We could have gone running back, but I think I might just go with 5 or maybe just grab one around 18. But I think I'm going to take Odell Beckham, and then a rookie that I actually really like. I was very high on before the draft, and then obviously his landing spot really mitigated his value. But Malik Washington really intrigues me. I also think Greg Dortch has some potential value as well, given behind Marvin Harrison, behind Trey McBride. There's no other receiver that you're like truly confident in. Zay Jones dealt with a lot of injuries last year, and while he does have some upside in the red zone, I don't fully trust him. Michael Wilson, year 2, could take a leap, but didn't really have a good connection with Kyler last season, even when Marquise Brown was injured. So he's fine. He goes at pick 167. We do not get him in this draft. But I think there's absolutely a scenario where Greg Dortch, who we've seen put up decent numbers in Arizona, is actually the more valuable wide receiver going super late in drafts. He's mostly going undrafted. So I might just have some fun and these last 2 picks take Greg Dortch, Malik Washington, but it's probably wise to grab at least one more running back. So let's see who's on the board. I might go D'Onta Foreman, just to consolidate this Cleveland backfield, assuming Nick Chubb offers no value. That's probably what I'll do. I've taken a decent amount of D'Onta Foreman. More so before I knew he signed in Cleveland. When he was a free agent, I was like, Foreman has been effective the last 2 seasons, and I was hoping he would sign in Dallas. That did not happen. He signs in Cleveland, but who knows? Maybe he has that Kareem Hunt role. Kareem Hunt put up 9 touchdowns last season. Maybe they still want a big back on the goal line to spell Jerome Ford on some drives. So I think that's who I'm going to take. I'm going to grab D'Onta Foreman. Mims falls to pick 199. Mims fell quite a while. So let's take D'Onta, our 6th running back. And now we're definitely in a little bit of a safer shape, but it's possible we get like zeros all season from Algier and D'Onta Foreman. If Chubb is actually decent, and if Bijan never goes down, there's a chance I never get any production from my RBs 5 and 6. So just insurance policies, but not the worst approach. And then with our last selection, I think I'm going to go Greg Dortch. I think there's less of a path for viability on Malik Washington, given that they signed Odell Beckham Jr., than there is for Greg Dortch. Dortch has put up some usable weeks in the past, and while I'm not like, super high on him, Malik Washington has a lot of competition above him. He does stack up with Tua, but we already have Waddle and Beckham stacked up with Tua. I don't know if I need a 3rd receiver that's on the outskirts. We have less pairings with Kyler than we do with Tua. So, assuming there's no snipe, I can't imagine I get sniped, though. But this is our team so far. Team 11, Jason going with some heavy Panthers investments late in the draft. Goes Adam Thielen around 14, paired up with Bryce Young, Jatavian Sanders. And I do find the Will Shipley pick very interesting. I do see some value for Shipley this season. I think it is wiser to go Shipley than Kenny Gainwell. But maybe that's just our inclination for the unknown with the rookie. We could have gone Jonnu Smith, but we do get sniped on Jonnu Smith. I don't feel good about Miami tight ends, though. Any tight end in Miami scares the shit out of me, honestly. And we already have 2 that I feel really confident in. I don't need a 3rd tight end at all in this team. So, most likely going to go with Greg Dortch, but are there any other receivers that speak to me here? Not really. Yeah, I'm just going to take Greg Dortch. Let's do it. Short Kings for the win. Kyler loves his Short Kings. He has one himself, and Dortch is his buddy. But this is our squad. Bijan in the first round, paired up with Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier, and Deontay Foreman at running back. Our wide receivers are Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, Brian Thomas, Rome Odunze. I still can't believe the value we got on Odunze. That's so late for Rome. Definitely going to pay off here. But we also have Zay Jones, OBJ, and Greg Dortch at receiver. Not expecting a ton from these late round picks, but who knows? Maybe it works out. Definitely leaning on the top 5. But our QBs are Kyler Murray, Tua, who are stacked up with some of our picks. And then our tight end position is probably the best facet of this team. We have Mark Andrews and Freiermuth. We have arguably the most competitive tight end room in this league, which will help us a little bit. But I'll take a look at Team 11 for you, Jason. Looks like you do not believe in Barkley either. According to you, Barkley is not the picture of health. Shipley was also number 1 rated pass catcher in the running back class. That is a good point. There are some reasons to fear Saquon's health. But let's take a look at this draft. I'll review your team since you did draft with us. I appreciate you for sticking through this entire draft, joining me. So you have Stafford as your QB1, drafted very late. If Stafford puts up numbers like he did at the end of last season, if he stays fully healthy, that's definitely going to pay off. And you do have him stacked up with Puka and Demarcus Robinson. So let's hope for the best for you, pal. I hope that works out. You also have Bryce Young. Definitely a bit risky, but he is a first overall pick. I was pretty high on Bryce Young last year, and I was definitely wrong about that selection. But you're here at pick 11. Those are your quarterbacks. But you have Puka, Marvin Harrison, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, really strong receiver room. You also have Chris Godwin and Rashee Rice. So Thielen and Demarcus Robinson are just icing on the cake. You're not counting on too much, but they do stack up with you well. And that's definitely a receiver room to envy. Really good receiver room for you, River at pick 11. Your tight end is Kyle Pitts, who I'm starting to come back around on a little bit. I still think Jake Ferguson may offer equal value going a couple rounds later, but Kyle Pitts I still think is probably... I'm starting to think he's probably worth a 6th round pick, and you took him right at the turn there just to avoid getting sniped by Team 12. I think that's fine. Definitely justified. I'm starting to come around on Pitts. Definitely some upside with him. If he can put up another 1,000 yards receiving, he'll absolutely pay off. It's just a question of will the touchdowns hit or not. But hope that works out for you, man. Wish you the best. Your running back room, though, is the risky part of this team. Najee Harris is RB1, Javonte Williams, Blake Corum, Charbonnet, Marshawn Lloyd. So some home run hits, at least some swings here with Corum, Charbonnet, and Lloyd. Let's hope that works out. I love the Charbonnet value. Corum, a little high for me. And Javonte, we spoke about that. I'm not like super high on Javonte. Like personally, I think I may have gone like Brian Robinson or Singletary, just for the floor of it. Robinson could put up a ton of touchdowns in the Kingsbury offense like James Conner did previously. Let's see what happens. But maybe Javonte proves me wrong. I was high on him a couple years ago. In the past, I've loved Javonte, and it just hasn't worked out. This year, I'm kind of off of him. But Corum could obviously be a league winner. And then Lloyd, if you're right about fading Josh Jacobs, yeah, could be a top 10 running back. We'll see what happens. But other than that, you have Will Shipley, and also that's just a bet hedging against Saquon Barkley. But your tight end, too, is Jatavian Sanders paired up with Bryce Young. And who knows, maybe the rookie has a big role in store for him this season. So overall, pretty good team. Little risky with the QB and running back strategy, but tight end is perfectly fine. And wide receiver is the strongest group of this entire draft. So on underdog, that's definitely the way you usually want to go. And if T. Higgins pays off for you, then you're going to have an excellent team. So good squad. I'd give it like a B plus overall. But if Stafford gets hurt, then this team falls apart. So a little bit of a risky strategy to wait till round 13 on QB, but you got your guy, and it is what it is. So thank you all for sticking around. If you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button and like this video. I will be back on Friday with another live stream, and then starting next week, I will give you some rankings videos starting at the running back position. Once we hit July, the rankings videos will start to be rolled out. I've already started doing a lot more stats on wide receiver, and I have jury duty at the end of July now, so I'm going to hope to get all of my rankings out before that happens, and that way in August I can just focus on the channel and update everyone as training camp reports come in. But that's going to be it for me. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. As I said previously, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And thanks y'all for hanging out. Jason, appreciate you for joining me in this draft. So I'll see you guys next time on Friday. Peace out.